There's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Monday, June 22nd, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is the World Crypto Network. The price of Bitcoin is up 0.93% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,489, a high of 9,533, and a low of 9,285. That's $1 for 10,539 Satoshis. Volume is up. It is a Monday, with 3,754 Bitcoins changing hands. The market continues to lean long, with 80% heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance is at 65.51%. Checking out our top stories, investment guru Jim Rogers, the value of Bitcoin will drop to zero. That's right, investor Jim Roberts thinks Bitcoin is still in a bubble and the cryptocurrency will eventually go to zero and disappear. Once again, you got to appreciate Cointelegraph for their Bitcoin art. Here we see another one of the great 300 references with Bitcoin being kicked into the pit by Sparta. Madness, this is Sparta. Sparta, this is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is braced for a $1 billion earthquake this week. According to Forbes magazine, Bitcoin's early 2020 rally has come to an abrupt halt, with the price failing to hold above $10,000 per Bitcoin. The Bitcoin price, up around 30% so far this year, has been treading water at around 9,400 since it briefly moved above 10,000 earlier this month. Now, Bitcoin traders and investors are braced for more than 100,000 Bitcoin options totaling $930 million to expire on June 26. Nearly 70% of Bitcoin's entire open interest. Bitcoin's looming options expiry could spark a bout of price volatility, with previous large expiries causing the market to bounce quite aggressively, and the size of the Bitcoin open interest market recently soaring. Bitcoin's open interest has climbed to $1.3 billion, double what it was a couple of months ago. Deribit, a Panama-based derivatives exchange, accounts for 77% of the Bitcoin's options market, although regulated venues CME and LedgerX have gained ground recently. The split between bullish and bearish options is currently fairly neutral, although most of the CME contracts are for Bitcoin above its current price, with 75% of CME contracts calling Bitcoin at $11,000 or higher. On top of Friday's coming Bitcoin options expiry, global stocks have slipped due to a resurgence in coronavirus infections across Europe, the US, and China, weighing on investor confidence. The key thing to watch over the next couple of weeks is the COVID-19 related equities sell-off. Chris Thomas, head of digital assets at Swiss Bank, told CoinDesk. If markets react very negatively towards the increased COVID-19 cases, we may see more panic, which could also pull Bitcoin lower. Meanwhile, a surge in Bitcoin's option interest, most Bitcoin buyers are treating it as digital gold, preferring to hold Bitcoin for the long term. Chain Analysis says that data shows that the majority of Bitcoin is held by those who treat it as digital gold, an asset to be held for the long term. With more people looking to trade Bitcoin, which is only becoming more scarce following the recent halving, Bitcoin is moving from the investment bucket into the trading bucket could become a crucial source of liquidity. However, one would expect this will only happen if Bitcoin's price rises to a level at which long-term investors are willing to sell. Thanks to the mint mute button right there. Honeywell's new quantum computer edges closer to threatening Bitcoin. Honeywell has announced that its newest quantum computer has reached a quantum volume of 64, twice that of IBM and Google's rival machines. However, if they did develop a quantum computer, it wouldn't just break Bitcoin's encryption, it would break everybody's encryption. So it would wreck all of your online banking, all of your online stock trading, anything that you do online that you want to be private could be broken by the quantum computer, but it's really not that close. They always say it's closer than it is. I'll believe it when I see it. Elon Musk, Bitcoin scammers up to $2 million in profit. Previously reported at $1 million. Now $2 million just for making fake videos, putting them on YouTube, and using one of those sweet custom Bitcoin addresses. I could have done this years ago if I'd known I'd get $2 million. What an awful scam. Don't send your Bitcoin to random scams. Bad. Blackballed by PayPal, scientific paper pirate takes Bitcoin donations. It's exactly what you think it is. It's a Kazakhstan-based case of Aaron Swartz. Alexa Elbakyan, a 31-year-old freelance coder, neurobiologist, and physicist, is running a database of over 80 million articles from academic journals that are normally available only through subscriptions. What started out as a frustration when she was a graduate student became a free research service funded only through donations. For most people in the world, Bitcoin is the only way to support her work. The website, called Sci-Hub, has been sued by 2 science publishing houses and reportedly investigated by the United States Department of Justice for possible espionage on behalf of Russian intelligence. She was never contacted by U.S. authority, but this investigation effectively cut her off from mainstream financial services. So impressive story here, just like the Aaron Swartz story from years ago when he downloaded all of those articles from JSTOR, the academic database, and then hosted them for free on the web. She's done the same thing, except with scientific journals, and apparently at a much larger degree, with more than 80 million articles now available for free. It's good stuff. More and more the centralized databases will fall, and Bitcoin could be a nice incentive to provide a reward for those who do so. Bitcoin whales exchange withdrawals hint at 5-digit prices in July. Price performance tends to flip bullish 4 months after peak whale withdrawals from exchanges, and the next cycle is almost here. Bitcoin daily chart. Sideways trading is not bearish. Bitcoin dollar prices are modestly up early Monday. Not much new lately. A price uptrend on the daily chart has stalled out, but the bulls still have the overall near-term technical advantage, and the sideways trading still slightly favors the bulls. Stay tuned. New Zealand authorities seized $90 million from alleged Bitcoin launderer Alexander Vinnick. I think this is the BTCE case. Police have reportedly recovered $90 million in assets reportedly belonging to the $4 billion launderer. So they've developed a $90 million out of a potential 4,000 million or 4 billion. That's 90 out of 4,000. Great job, guys. That's a sarcastic clap. Bitcoin sees small gain as gold rallies to 1-month high. It doesn't look like Bitcoin is correlating with gold either. Bitcoin is reporting moderate gains on Monday as gold, a safe haven asset, rallies amid renewed coronavirus concerns. It just keeps coming back. It's like we didn't kill it the first time, and it just keeps coming back. Precious metals seem to be rising as the markets return their focus to the coronavirus pandemic, with a number of new cases rising at a faster pace in Germany, the U.S., and other parts of the world over the past few days. Investors seem worried about the major economies may reimpose lockdowns to avoid a second wave of the outbreak, as we've predicted here over and over again. Apple has already started closing their stores, and Australia have extended a state of emergency for 4 more weeks. Meanwhile, the uptick in the German infection rate has caused an outbreak amongst abattoir employees, has sparked debate about working conditions in its meat processing industry. Dun, dun, dun. Bitcoin 50,000. Next stop. Maybe. XRP not a security? Yeah. Developer who hacked Bitcoin wallet ensures that Bitcoin is still safe. Oh, is this talking about the 4 words? Yeah, we talked about this the other day. Alistair Milne exposed 8 of his 12 words. Because he exposed 8 of the words, Cantrell was able to crack the other 4 words. That's only because he exposed 8 of them. As long as you don't expose 8 of your words, you'll be fine. And if you've got something extra in your wallet, check out the World Crypto Network store at worldcryptonetwork.store. There's also a link on the .com. You could get your own Trezors Don't Float t-shirt. Tell all your friends what happened to your Bitcoin the quick and easy way. It was a boating accident, and I learned that Trezors don't float. At worldcryptonetwork.store. Check out the World Crypto Network podcast. It's not quite up to date, but it's very recent and very close to being up to date, and hopefully will be up to date again later. The price of Bitcoin is up 1.04% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,488, a high of 9,533, and a low of 9,285. That's $1 for 10,540 Satoshis. Volume is a little up as it's Monday morning, with 3,733 Bitcoins changing hands. The market continues to lean long, with 80% going that direction, and Bitcoin dominance was at 65.52%. And now we've got the news. The president's rally is still very much in the news, as well as John Bolton's interview with Martha Raddatz on ABC just yesterday. I watched the interview. Did you? We're probably going to have lots of clips of the Bolton interview and maybe some more clips of the failed Trump rally. Let's check out the news. Of course, Trump was at his golf course yesterday. As predicted, the main reason he didn't want to move the rally off of Juneteenth, which was a Friday, is because it interfered with his ability to get 2 golfing days in. Moving the rally to Saturday meant that he only got to golf on Sunday. What a bummer, huh? Could have gotten to golf more. A pretty awesome message from Tom Petty's family and legacy. They say Tom Petty would never want a song of his used for a campaign of hate. He liked to bring people together. Tom Petty's song, I Won't Back Down, was used at Trump's campaign rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Trump was in no way authorized to use this song to further a campaign that leaves too many Americans and common sense behind. Both the late Tom Petty and his family stand firmly against racism and discrimination of any kind. Tom Petty would never want a song of his used for a campaign of hate. He liked to bring people together. Tom wrote this song for the underdog, for the common man, and for everyone. We want to make it clear that we believe everyone is free to vote as they like, think as they like. There goes the 15 minutes. But the Petty family doesn't stand for this. We believe in America and we believe in democracy. But Donald Trump is not representing the noble ideas of either. We would hate for fans that are marginalized by this administration to think that we were complicit in this usage. Concurrently, we have issued an official cease and desist notice to the Trump campaign. Great job, Adria, Anakim, Dana, and Jane Petty. Great stuff from Tom Petty. And that's not all. We've got more news. Unfortunately, wouldn't that be great? A friend of mine who worked for the tobacco company once told me that none of the top management actually smoked. That was just for customers. And a quick reminder that the Fox News channel sent a memo today reminding staffers who come to the office to follow CDC guidelines on masks. We'd like to remind all employees to also don a face covering in Fox News media shared spaces, particularly when you're not at a socially distanced workstation. It does seem like they're recommending masks internally. They don't want their own people to be sick. What does that mean about you? Let's see. Oh, Trump's having trouble walking downstairs. Oh. Judd Apatow says, now for the rest of his life he has to walk fast and confidently down all stairs. Never again can he saunter. People will always be watching. He is in stairs hell. Pretty good stuff. We also have the Falcon 9 landing. Looks like a model rocket. It's such high resolution. The video, you can see the way it pops out. And look at it landing right there on the pad. Perfect landing. Amazing work from SpaceX and the Falcon 9 rocket. You almost think it's not real. It's so cool looking. Paris mayor has released a manifesto for Paris, placing ecology at the heart of the city policy, including a 30-kilometer-per-hour speed limit everywhere, parking spaces cut in half, and the city's new temporary cycle lanes and pedestrian streets made permanent. Great stuff for Paris. I'd love to see Paris transform the way that Amsterdam transformed themselves from the 1970s until now. It's a choice to have livable cities, livable for human beings, not for cars. We made a mistake. We designed all our cities and everything for cars. Turns out human beings live there, not cars. People are describing the Bolton book as a 500-page bombshell about Trump and the White House. We've got another update on the ticket crisis. Trump had over 1 million people request tickets to his event, but only around 6,000 people showed up. As David Kirkpatrick says in England, he says, my 14-year-old at breakfast in Britain, oh yeah, Dad, I did that too. I registered for 3 tickets to the Trump rally in Tulsa. That is funny. More and more people finding out what was going on in their houses. And again, if you're looking for John Bolton's book, you don't have to buy it or wait for it to come out tomorrow. You can download the PDF today. It's all over Twitter. Someone has leaked Bolton's book in PDF format, although I'll bet they're all linking to the same Google Drive instead of creating mirrors. And when this link goes down, all of these will be dead links, as no one ever creates a mirror of anything. But you can still get a copy right now of John Bolton's book. Update from that lawn mowing kid. What do you mean you had 40 tickets? I need to get more laugh tracks. I'm going to use it all the time. I agree with this. They should bring her back exactly as she was. Scaffolding around Notre Dame in Paris. What a gorgeous building. How tragic were the fires. Don't remind Donald Trump this is a picture of 100,000 in St. Louis for Barack Obama. Don't want to mention that. Check out the World Crypto Network right here. We've got our man Ben, BTC Socialist, Ben Ark, with a fantastic BTC/IoT tutorial. You can learn how to make your own Bitcoin hardware wallet. And what's great about this is it has a little James Bond to it. The Bitcoin hardware wallet is hidden behind a Tetris game. So it looks like a little toy, your kid's playing with it, but meanwhile, you could put money inside and do whatever you want with it. You could walk around the world with money inside a toy video game. Learn how to make your own right here on the World Crypto Network. Jerry Nadler, a Democrat, has lost faith in government. He believes that impeaching Attorney General Barr will be a waste of time because we know we have a corrupt Republican majority in the Senate, which will not consider impeachment no matter what the offense. And the obvious response to this is you do it anyway. You do it to get them on the record. You do it to get them to make speeches in support of this. You do it to show history that you were on the right side and you tried to use the levers of government. This idea forming that the only lever of government left is the election is a scary one, because if that lever fails, it's all over. What's your backup plan if the election fails? That's why you impeach him now. That's why you impeach them all now. You impeach them because you can. You impeach because the Constitution says you must. And you impeach them because it's the right thing to do. As Angus Johnson said, Jerry Nadler first took office as his representative while he was still in college, and he's voted for him proudly a bunch of times. But his unwillingness to confront Trump's abuses in a strong and aggressive way is deeply, deeply disappointed. And it's very much like that old poem by Yeats, where the best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of a passionate intensity. Here Nadler has lost his conviction. As Angus says, the time for threats and warnings and expressions of dismay passed a long time ago. Do what you can do. Take decisive action where and when you can. If it's not enough, it's not enough, but don't hold back because you might not succeed. And this also has to do with the Bolton case that we're going to be talking about a lot today. Bolton could have stood up during the impeachment hearings. He could have testified. He could have made an interview then. He could have rushed his book to production and released it during the trial. But he didn't. He said now, he didn't think it would make a difference. So democracy died because John Bolton didn't believe he was important. And I'm reading this Bolton book on every single page. He believes he's the most important person in every room. He believes he has the solution for foreign policy the entire time. He believes he's the only one with his eye on the ball, maybe in the entire country, maybe in the entire world, and yet still he couldn't get out there and speak. Apparently he really needs this $2 million, this advance from the book. There's very little other reason to do it. Maybe he was afraid, maybe he was threatened, which again is more reason to speak, more reason to tell people you were threatened, et cetera, et cetera. But maybe Bolton's just a coward and a traitor to America. That's sure what it seems like. Which countries will face hyperinflation first? Well, countries that don't have a reserve currency status, countries that have low foreign exchange reserves, countries that have lots of foreign debt, countries that have large budget deficits, and countries that have negative real interest rates. I'd say the United States is about 4 or 5 of those, 3 or 5 of those, something like that. The World Health Organization has reported the largest single-day virus infections by its count, with more than 183,000 new cases in the past 24 hours. Brazil had the highest spike with 54,771 new cases, with the U.S. next at 36,617. Coronavirus is not over, not by a long shot. Here's Steve Kerr, basketball coach of the Golden State Warriors, and as I learned, a major piece of the Chicago Bulls back in the Jordan days. He says there were so many directions that the president could have gone in his speech. COVID-19, unemployment, the murder of George Floyd, systemic racism, global warming, etc. Instead, he chose the whiny victim route. This is our president. We deserve better. Register to vote. And it's another very quickly made and fantastic advertisement from the Lincoln Project, mainly focusing on what the president gave them, which is a 10-minute speech about his difficulty walking down ramps and drinking water. Let's watch the dramatic video from the Lincoln Project. Oh, Twitter.
Now, the general says, "Sir." Now, the general says, "Sir, we can now leave the stage." I say, "Great, General, let's go. I'll follow you." And he goes like this, "Right here, sir." I said, "General, there's no way I can make it down that ramp without falling on my ass, General." So I said, "Is there like something else around?" "Sir, the ramp is ready to go." So now I have a choice. I can stay up there for another couple of hours and wait till I'm rescued. Or I can go down this really steep, really, it's an ice skating rink. It's brutal. So I said, "General, get ready, because I may grab you so fast." Now he's standing there, big, strong guy, and he's got these shoes, but they're loaded with rubber on the bottom. Because the first thing I did, I looked at his shoes. Then I looked at mine. Very, very slippery. So I end up saying, "Okay, General, let's go. I will only grab you if I need you." And the stage was higher than this one. And the ramp was probably 10 yards long. This was a steel ramp. It had no handrail. It was like an ice skating rink.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States.
Wow. Powerful ad again from the Lincoln Project, who really must be getting under the president's skin. And again, he made that ad for them. If you're upset about that ad, you're a supporter of the president, you're upset at him. He's the one who made a 10-minute speech about going down the ramp and drinking water. As the tagline at the end says, "Vote for Biden because he's not a whiny bitch." He really did seem like a whiny bitch. And again, he knew it was being broadcast, right? It was broadcast live on Fox News. No one else carried it live. But still, it was live on Fox News. Everyone had the option to cut it up, describing it as an ice skating rink when you can clearly see the green grass in the background. And we all know it's summertime. Powerful ad. Really good. And again, everyone's going to play that for free. The best kind of ads are the ones that are so sensational that everyone plays it for free. Think about the Apple Super Bowl ad. They only paid for that to be played once. They paid once at the Super Bowl, and after that, everyone just replayed it for them for free over and over again. So the same thing with the Lincoln Project. They're being retweeted by people all over, not just in politics, as we see here. Basketball coach Steve Kerr, although he's said several political things in the past. He lives in California, so on and so forth. So he's pretty political. But what a powerful advertisement. And there's going to be more, too. Checking out this great tweet from Blockfolio. The cypherpunks and fathers of Bitcoin. Hal Finney, Adam Back, Wei Dai, David Chaum, Nick Scabo, Phil Zimmerman, Bram Cohen, Tim May, and of course, Satoshi Nakamoto. And it really is amazing how parts of all these projects came together to become Bitcoin. And really what a collaborative effort it was. How even Bitcoin is, again, standing on the shoulders of giants, right? If Satoshi didn't have PGP from Phil Zimmerman, if he didn't have BitTorrent from Bram Cohen, there's no way he could have ever made Bitcoin. Never could have imagined it without these previous examples and previous ideas, trying out different parts of the system, eventually combined together into Bitcoin. It's also pretty amazing that I've met 3 of these people. How crazy is that? I met Adam Back a couple of times at Bitcoin conferences and interviewed him even. That was pretty cool. I met Nick Scabo once at a Bitcoin conference before he was really popular and expensive. So it was cool. Got to hang out with him back when he was just a person. And before his right-wing Twitter account had kind of drowned out his accomplishments in technology. And I got to meet Bram Cohen in San Francisco. He made a speech once at the Bitcoin meetup, and he's now working on a similar Bitcoin project, something about Bitcoin that doesn't take any energy. It's some kind of environmentally friendly Bitcoin. I think it's called Chia Coin, something like that. And I might have met Satoshi Nakamoto. I met Dorian Satoshi Nakamoto. That was pretty cool. But yeah, how neat is that? A list of the top cypherpunks, and I've met 3 of them. What are the odds? Crazy, huh? They've got another ad here from the Lincoln Project. As I say here, this advertising put out by the Republicans / Never Trumpers at the Lincoln Project is fantastic and pulls no punches. It turns out that the things that Democrats needed was Republicans. Democrats just can't do this. They don't have the balls for negative ads. But now, as you've seen, Republicans have joined with Democrats and are now attacking the president with sharp and very quickly assembled negative ads. Let's see if we can trick the video player into playing it. Oh, I'll bet it's this program that blocks everything from working. It's always the program that blocks everything from working. It's so useful. Anyway, we're going to try to play this video from the Lincoln Project. It's another really great negative ad.
Hey, Donald, your campaign manager told you 1 million fans wanted to come to your first big rally. Turnout in Tulsa? A dud. You've probably heard this before, but it was smaller than we expected. It sure wasn't as big as you promised. Honestly, we're not surprised. We've seen that you're shaky. Can't keep your polls up. And it's getting worse. You talk a big game.
The event in Oklahoma is unbelievable. The crowds are unbelievable. They haven't seen anything like it.
And can't deliver. Sad, weak, low energy. Just like your presidency. Just like you. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising. Hey, Donald.
And again, what a brutal advertisement. All the mentions of his, his can't get it up, he's having trouble, he's low energy. I mean, they're totally implying a lot of other things. It was smaller than everyone thought it was. The implications there. Just what a layered advertisement. Excellent voice. Nice and quick, 45 seconds. I'd prefer to see 30, but 45 is all right. Just another fantastic negative ad by the Republicans who are advertising against Donald Trump. Everybody's still loving being a 90s kid and remembering how good Pizza Hut pan pizza used to be. The old times at the arcades. As Alicia Grauso says here, there were exactly 3 things that 90s kids respected. ABC's Friday night TGIF lineup, the killing power of slap bracelets, which our parents convinced they had, and the Pizza Hut pan pizza skillet, after failing to respect it and searing your flesh with a 2nd-degree burn. Yes, it was very hot, and they also gave you free pizzas for reading books. It was pretty cool back in the day. There's another great graphic here. Remember when Pizza Hut, they had a salad bar, they had these old-timey glass, Tiffany-esque Pizza Hut glass things around the lights, the old logos, sit-down video games, and Book It. This is the main thing that I remember is that Book It button in the corner. I'm pretty sure I still have mine. But they would give you gold stars around the outside here when you read books. And then you'd get free pizza or whatever. But it was a great Book It program and led me to competitive book reading in my youth. So we used to compete, and then it was about finding short books and books that you could read quickly and so on and so forth. So maybe not quite the right approach to reading, but it was an option. So Ron Perlman, the actor who was recently challenged to a fight by Ted Cruz, who wants him to fight his work colleague Jim Jordan. I know, really. He says, "I listened to your speech, Donnie. The America you describe is dark, ugly, without warmth or love or compassion or generosity. But the worst of it is, you don't believe a fucking word of it. You just use loaded words to stir people up and to hate everybody except you." It really does have a Hitler-esque quality to it. It's getting pretty bad. Meanwhile, in Bitcoin, Jihan Wu with Bitmain and a big part of the Bcash fork literally tried to steal a company according to Samson Mow, allegedly. He pulled all sorts of shady tricks like he did when he was trying to fork Bitcoin. It was only a matter of time before it caught up with him. And that's based upon this quoted tweet that Molly writes, "Time to sell all your bitch. Jihan might go to jail." Mike Ree posted an announcement and listed all the illegal things that Jihan did in the past. In that announcement, Mike Ree said that he has 36% of company share of Bitmain in Cayman and 59.6% of the voting rights. But time might be running out for Jihan. Bill Crystal writes, Bolton is a rock-ribbed conservative. There's not a rhino bone in his body. He was Trump's national security advisor for 17 months. He saw Trump every day, up close as president, and he won't vote for him again. He thinks a second Trump term would be dangerous for the country. And I definitely agree with this sign here from Vital Vegas. It's a cute puppy dog, and he says, "Please be considerate. Someone in your neighborhood is scared of fireworks." And I don't know what's going on this year, but they seem to have distributed the 4th of July fireworks a few weeks early. Usually we have some crazy fireworks on the 4th and a couple days before and a couple days after, and it's kind of acceptable. It's all right. But now, weeks early, there are randomly fireworks going off, and yeah, it's definitely freaking out my dog. Brooklyn Dad was watching John Bolton with Martha Raddatz, and he just kept thinking, why the hell didn't you speak up until now? His book is all over the interwebs now for free. What a coward. And yes, it's a very big question why John Bolton didn't testify. And it's guaranteed to be the first line in his obituary. John Bolton failed to testify against Trump in the impeachment hearings, dooming the country to everything that's happened since. Thanks, John. The protests are not over. Police are still brutalizing people. None of this is over. This is a live stream from Columbus, Ohio. They're macing and shoving the protesters after they've been beaten with bikes onto the sidewalk. And we saw the beginnings of this in Minneapolis and other places. The police are now using bicycles as weapons because it looks less violent than using clubs. They're also shooting tear gas right up close. You can see right there. A very low quality video for some reason. Not full screen, but still. There's protesters on the ground. They're pointing bear mace at them on the sidewalk. See right there, the police are spraying directly in the middle of this. You can see just spraying at the people. This is after the city officially banned tear gas. They said, hey, we're not going to use that anymore. The police are out there with their bear mace containers, just macing the people of Columbus, Ohio. More and more articles are being released about how upset the president was about the lack of attendance at his rally. President Trump and several staff members stood backstage and gazed at the empty Bank of Oklahoma Center in horror. They said he was furious on the plane over. He was even more furious on the plane back. So much anger. And now the John Bolton interview. What do you guys think? You want to check out some quotes from John Bolton describing the president? Here he is with Martha Raddatz on ABC News, talking about his new book, which you can download for free all over Twitter. Just get the PDF. Don't buy it. Don't give this guy any money. He should have testified. Twitter videos, such a disappointment. One more time, this time for sure.
National security.
You described the president as erratic, foolish, behaved irrationally, bizarrely. You can't leave him alone for a minute. He saw conspiracies behind rocks. He couldn't tell the difference between his personal interests and the country's interests.
I don't think he's fit for office. I don't think he has the competence to carry out the job. There really isn't any guiding principle that I was able to discern other than what's good for Donald Trump's reelection.
He calls you
national security.
You describe
Rough. No guiding principles except what's good for his reelection. Dark stuff there from John Bolton. Here's another clip from the interview, which you can check out on ABC News. And it's all over the internet as well today. These are, of course, from Aaron Rupar. A guy does a lot of great quotes and little tweets of things on the Twitter. Here we go. More from John Bolton.
To write in.
How do you think history will remember Donald Trump?
I hope it will remember him as a one-term president who didn't plunge the country irretrievably into a downward spiral we can't recall from. We can get over one term. 2 terms I'm more troubled about. Decisions are made in a very scattershot fashion, especially in the potentially mortal field of national security policy. This is a danger for the to write in.
Scattershot decisions. He hopes he'll be a one-termer. Rough stuff from the former national security advisor to Donald Trump. Here's another image from the protests. This protester is a paraplegic. The police took his legs away from him until the protesters attacked the police and got his legs back. There was no reason to take this man's legs. The police just did it because they can. So it's June 21st, also in Columbus, Ohio. They also pepper sprayed the man, a double amputee. Again, fuck you, John Bolton, for not testifying. You left us to this. Here's another witness of the place where in Columbus, Ohio, where the police officers stole the prosthetic legs of a double amputee for sport. For everyone asking, the protesters begged the cops for the legs back. Cops refused. Then a group rushed the cops, getting maced, and were able to grab the legs back and get them to the kids. So police officers in Columbus, Ohio, are taking prosthetic legs from a double amputee. Here's more images from the protests last night in Columbus, Ohio. You can see them spraying tons of mace, just lots and lots of it. This is bear mace. You're not supposed to spray it at such a close range. They're at least pointing it up above the crowd. But again, they were recently told not to use that. You can see them using the bicycles as weapons, pushing against the protesters with the bicycles, especially with those handlebars pointed out. Those are mountain bike bicycles. I think those handlebars are usually supposed to be pointed up, but you can see they flip them forward so it looks like a bull, like a charging bull, directly at the protesters' signs, attempting to hurt them and cause them damage. Looks like we also have a video of the protest. Let's check that out. But it's the same resolution issues. There we go. Look at the police using bicycles as weapons. See, we gave them these bicycles for transportation. See how the animals use them as weapons? Look, he's charging forward with the bicycle. This is because they thought that the clubs and the shields look bad. So bicycles as weapons in Ohio. Look at that charging there. The way that the bicycle, and time to spray them. Spraying the media as well. You see the way he went around in a circle there. He knew the media were standing here behind them, but still, you want to just spray at everyone. Look at that. Right back there at the media as well. You like that? Yeah. That's what you do in America. And again, got you on video, guy. We got you on video. We're going to get your badge number. Everyone's going to know who you are right there, sunglasses. Look at him. Aggressively spray right at the camera, right at the media. It's still happening. And look at the change of strategy. The bicycles as weapons. How really obvious you have to be. Obviously, we need to take their bicycles away from them. It's truly awful. Like, you give a man a hammer and he could build a house. Or you give a man a hammer and he could use it as a weapon and kill his neighbor. You give these guys bicycles. They could ride around, help out the community. They look like nice bicycles, too. I'd like a bicycle like that. I wouldn't use it to attack anybody. Got big saddlebags and everything, all that gear. Look at that. They're just driving forward, clearly using the bicycles as weapons. Like, there's no doubt at all. Previously, they'd use the bicycles as barriers, and we were only starting to get the idea that we could use them as weapons. And again, just this, it's like a salute. It's like a salute to the American people. Let's just go ahead and mace everyone. And it's clearly, you see, it's the second rank. It's the supervisors. It's very infantry looking here. It has a very, like, Napoleonic War feeling. The protesters seem to have these reflective metal shields that they've made, presumably to flash the sun in the officers' faces. That's a nice move. That's aggressive. You got to, take that into account. But here the officers really know how to use aggression. And what a classy move, going back to spray the people here, the camera people, and to spray the media behind your own lines. Which, again, in the media behind the lines here could attack the police. If you're on the other side of the line like this, it's very weak, as you can see, all these exposed ankles. Whereas the other side, where they're charging with the bicycles, that's their point of strength. So we're really getting back into good old infantry here. Good old Napoleonic War. Divide and conquer, hold the line. And the enemy is the American people, the people in the street, the formerly peaceful protesters, now driven to violence in Columbus, Ohio. Oh, we've got more. Yeah, we've got more, of course. This is a street medic that the police have chosen and are pulling through the crowd. So they're attacking medical personnel, which is a war crime. Let's see. Let's get over into that window. So that's a medic right here. You can see right here, they're dragging the medic from the sidewalk where he was not a part of the protest. He was a medic. Then they drag him and, of course, throw him to the ground. You always want to throw people to the ground. That way the ground causes the injury, not you. They were injured because they were resisting arrest, so on and so forth. This is classic. One guy on, the other guy is threatening human beings with mace here. Some really quality human beings here. There's another, this is a higher level police officer, so we've got third level supervisor here. And he's like, this is fine. Do it. Keep that medic there. Looks like he's got a bag, probably full of medical equipment. Again, you want to separate the protesters from any means of support. This is why they were destroying those water bottles a few weeks ago. Stabbing the water bottles, leaking the water out onto the ground. You want to break these people. It's a bad look. Remember in the 1960s, they used water hoses. They would just hose the protesters directly with the water cannons. They must dream for those days. They wish they could do it again, apparently in Columbus, Ohio. As again, the medic being dragged and thrown to the ground, his helmet falling off. He's thrown so hard to the ground. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, amber waves of grain. Oh, purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and ground thy good from sea to shining sea. Meanwhile, while we're yakking, the price of Bitcoin has gone up. The price of Bitcoin is up 1.72% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,539, a high of 9,549. Oh, so close. A low of 9,285. That's $1 for 10,482 Satoshis. Getting more expensive all the time. But look at that. We almost caught the high I do all these price readings, and I never seem to get to read the high when it's the high or the low when it's the low. So even right there, it dipped a little just to spite me. Anyway, we're keeping an eye on the price of Bitcoin, checking out more police brutality and violence towards protesters, American citizens, in the streets of Columbus, Ohio. And there's more from John Bolton and his new book. Bitcoin Warrior writes, if he was so interested in telling the truth, why didn't he do it under oath in the impeachment hearings? Bolton is a traitor. And I was watching the interview, at least on the West Coast feed, so 3 hours behind everyone else. Thanks, ABC. But yes, my own comments on the interview. And it would not have made any difference. John Bolton gives up on America. Just like Representative Jerry Nadler, he won't impeach Barr because it wouldn't have made any difference. Bolton refuses to testify because it wouldn't have made any difference. We'll never know now, will we? Thanks. Thanks, Traitor John. And how disingenuous and self-serving. Bolton claims that the Democrats didn't have the wit. And that is really what I get so far reading this book, is Bolton's sense of superiority over every single human being that's ever walked the earth. Just like the Jim Comey book had a very uptight cop feeling, like he doesn't wipe his own ass, his shit doesn't stink. This Bolton book is really uptight. The only thing he cares about is foreign policy, North Korea and Iran, and he knows everything about it. Everyone else knows nothing. For everything, he's got an article that he's written about it that's just perfect. He's even bragging about giving copies of his articles to Trump. He's completely taken in by the flattery. He keeps mentioning how people said he'd be great for a job at this meeting, and people said he'd be great for a job at that meeting, and how much the president likes him. He's just completely motivated by this flattery. Meanwhile, in hindsight, he's included all these negative events around the flattery. So it gives the impression that he knew that it was going to be a disaster. Then again, he goes and works for the disaster for 17 months, then doesn't testify, doesn't write a book while he's there, doesn't do anything that would make any difference. Because again, he only cares about North Korea and Iran, and he's singularly focused on foreign policy. So it's an interesting read so far. I'm only starting. Curious to learn more. And it's definitely a page turner. It's a story. He's telling you a story. He's bringing you into it. And all the characters are very familiar already. Of course, I've read several of the other Trump books, but even just watching the news, you're very familiar with the characters he's discussing. And John Bolton will always be remembered for his failure to testify. I found a pretty fun new Twitter account. It's called Has Jeff Bezos Decided to End World Hunger? And it's based upon the idea that they said that it would take around $11 billion to end world hunger, and that Jeff Bezos has 190. So he could very easily just decide on a whim today at breakfast, I, Jeff Bezos, decided to feed every human being on Earth for $11 billion to work out a system, probably to keep feeding them, owning the farms or whatever, producing cheap rice or whatever it is and shipping it around the world. But yes, Jeff Bezos has not decided to end world hunger today. Maybe tomorrow. That was pretty funny advertisement or a little meme here based on the movie They Live, which you should see. It's a great movie if you haven't seen it. And he's looking at the sign. It says Black Lives Matter on the Chase Manhattan Bank. Then he puts his glasses on that allow him to see the real message. And it says, please don't burn down our banks. And that really is what it is. All these different announcements from all these corporations, these empty sayings, these little slogans, and not actually doing anything. It's just an attempt to say, please don't destroy our property. It costs us money. Max Burns says, how is Martha Raddack's first question to John Bolton not, why did you refuse to share what you knew when Congress was impeaching the president? No one should let Bolton rehab his reputation until he answers this simple and fundamental question. And I don't know that it's quite as good as going to Congress, but on Wednesday, John Bolton's going to be on The View. Yes, the ladies of The View, including Whoopi Goldberg, comedian, Joy Behar, comedian, Meghan McCain, daughter of John McCain. I guess that's a qualification now. And I guess somebody else, certainly not Barbara Walters, will be interviewing John Bolton. I hope they take him to task, but that's about all we can hope for is the ladies of The View. Obviously, John Bolton signed an exclusive deal with ABC News, doing the groundbreaking interview with Raditz. A few days later, doing The View. I guess we'll expect him on the Jimmy Kimmel show in about a month. So much for that. So much for America. At least the press tour is intact. I hope John Bolton makes a lot of money, right? Actually, I don't. Here's a PDF of the current book right now. You can download it right here. Get yourself a copy of the John Bolton book. It's on Twitter. It's still in Google Drive, so this link is no doubt going to go down soon. But yeah, you can check it out right here. Read the John Bolton book online for free. Put it on your Kindle, your e-reader. You can convert the PDF to Mobi file, then email it to your Kindle. It's just that easy. The John Bolton book. Pay nothing today. Don't give any of your money to this traitor to America, John Bolton. Here's a great Photoshop of John Bolton. In the background, it says the book title, The Room Where I Sold Out America for 30 Pieces of Silver, a greed-inspired memoir by John, I Love Money, Bolton. Sad. As Max Burns says, what is really unforgivable, and what others have mentioned, is that John Bolton is attempting to paint himself as some kind of patriotic whistleblower with this media tour. But he was stone silent when the country asked him to testify under oath. And it is just that simple. He had one chance to do the right thing. He failed, and now it's over. You did the wrong thing. As Malcolm Nance, formerly with the CIA, says, John Bolton can go straight to hell. Direct flight, nonstop. He could have been a savior of the Republic and sold books for decades. But he went for instant grift and let Trump off. The Homeland Security Department apparently is tweeting for the Trump administration now, no longer for the security of the fatherland. Sorry, the homeland. And here we can see right here this bizarre series of tweets from @DHS.gov, formerly an official agency of the United States. Now it seems to be an official agency of Donald Trump. They say right here in a bizarre tweet, another work of fiction by Politico. The DHS.gov Intel Bulletin does not identify the Boogaloo movement as left-wing or right-wing. They are simply violent extremists from both ends of the ideological spectrum. And in the next tweet they say, this is precisely why the mainstream media is losing credibility with the vast majority of Americans. And talk about the Department of Homeland Security losing credibility. This is the agency that's supposed to keep you safe at airports, right? What the hell are they doing commenting on a news piece, then commenting a second time with a political message claiming that the mainstream media is losing credibility? First of all, what is the mainstream media? Define that for me. And then how are you gauging that they've lost credibility? Is it something to do with airport lines? Is it something to do with security? Is it something to do with the homeland? What is going on here? So again, complete nonsense from the Homeland Security Twitter account. This is the collapse of institutions in America. As Julian Zeller writes, this is precisely why so many Americans assume President of the United States is turning the entire federal government into one giant re-election machine. And even if you're right-wing or left-wing or whatever, you see the Department of Homeland Security putting out bizarre tweets attacking the media. You've really got to say, what's going on? I think everyone's got reservations at that beer hall. The president is tweeting again about mail-in ballots. He says, in all capital letters, like an insane person, rigged 2020 election, millions of mail-in ballots will be printed by foreign countries and others. It will be the scandal of our times. And again, he's voted mail-in ballots himself every year that he's been in office and probably more. His daughter voted by mail-in ballots. His press secretary voted by mail-in ballots. Troops overseas have been voting by mail-in ballots since the First and Second World Wars. Mail-in ballots are a trusted part of Americans' political system, but again, the goal now is to postpone or discredit the election. It's no longer about policy or ideas or who you think should be president. It's about discrediting the election, postponing the election, blocking people from voting. That's all they have left. But that doesn't mean that they're going to stop. John Bolton defends not testifying, saying, "I don't think it would have made a difference." As Jill Wine-Banks says, that's cowardice, not a defense. Dan the Dark Pill reminds us that Ethereum maximalist Hype the DAO got wrecked. They hype the ICOs, got wrecked. And now they're hyping DeFi. What will happen next? And here's a great video of what people meant when they said no justice, no peace. One of George Floyd's killers was released on bail, and people are following him and confronting him in public. They are so upset that he has been part of this murder and that now he's just out in public like nothing happened.
Minnesota like this. I pulled up the picture. I knew it was you. It's just like he was there when they were killing him. And it's just like, this is crazy that you're here just thinking everything's okay. I mean, you don't want to apologize. You don't want to say anything. Like, no. Because this video is going to be on the internet. Yeah, he has the nerve to literally come outside thinking that we don't know what he looks like. How dare you? You're not going to be able to comfortably live in Minnesota after this, or anywhere. And you will be going back to jail. Trust. Trust. Yeah, he bailed out. How'd you get the money? How'd you get the money? And you're lucky that they don't have your address. You're lucky that they don't have your address. Hi. This is one of the police officers that was involved in killing George Floyd. He was out on bail today, and he's over here comfortably shopping in Cub Foods as if.
Expect more of these videos soon. This is the right way to deal with this. You've got to confront people directly when they break the law and murder people. Also interesting, the garbage food that he's buying. You seem to be buying American Oreos. They look like red, white, and blue Oreos, whipped cream, and a giant thing of milk. So the poor guy's going to eat himself to death with those Oreos. But what a great time to wear a mask, right? He could have just worn one of those great surgical masks and protected other people from the coronavirus which he likely caught as he was in prison, breathing with a bunch of other people. He could have just worn a mask and not been recognized. But yes, this is definitely going to keep happening to everyone who is involved in these murders, and should happen to John Bolton as well for his failure to testify. They're just lucky she was polite. Other people might not be so polite. And even with all this happening, everyone's almost forgotten that Trump fired a U.S. attorney trying to stop the investigations of the Southern District of New York, which were getting closer and closer to Trump and his allies. As former U.S. District Attorney Joyce Aline writes, forcing out a U.S. attorney on the eve of an election in favor of a less qualified candidate who golfs with the president in the midst of investigations known to be irksome to the president does not reflect a commitment to law enforcement independence. We may be losing the Justice Department. There's rumors on the internet about the fireworks issue. Not just are they angering dogs and making them afraid. According to a rumor on the internet, people all over the United States are noticing more and more fireworks being fired off in their neighborhood, not just because of the 4th of July. As Ayo on the internet says, I talked to kids on my block today. They told me they bought professional-grade fireworks from a random white man in a black SUV. What they showed me were giant, parade-level fireworks. Those aren't easily available in New York City. They should have cost $300 or more, but it was only $20. So they're not sure what's going on. The internet thinks this is similar to the brick incident, where pallets of bricks were dropped off in protest locations, presumably to inspire the protesters to use those bricks. Now we have fireworks going off every night all over the country, maybe just to freak people out and make them feel like they live in a war zone. It could be that simple, or it could be nothing. Who knows? But have you noticed more fireworks recently? Let us know in the chat and in the comments down below if you've noticed fireworks in your neighborhood. Check out Rootsel. He's using a new Lightning plugin for cash in the bag onboarding and Lightning URL W for vouchers. So more and more things are being developed on the Lightning Network, making it easier to use. Great stuff. Patagonia is joining the Stop Hate for Profit campaign. They're pulling all ads on Facebook and Instagram effective immediately through at least the end of July, waiting for meaningful action from the social media giant. Facebook's still trying to be a neutral platform, meaning that we allow hate from both sides, and we love to promote hate, and that we're a platform of hate. So it's a big mistake for Facebook. It's far past time to have that, but again, they don't want to be regulated. They want to be unregulated, and they think the best path to do that is this neutral platform defense. Bolton has the audacity to sit there and admit that he literally witnessed Trump conspiring with China to interfere in the 2020 election, but he never told Congress, nor did he alert anyone, that the president was committing treason again. And the other problem with Bolton and Nadler's idea that the election is a good solution for solving this is that they're going to rig the election as well. Maybe they can't rig it with Biden up by 15 points, but they can delay it, they can cancel it, they can say it was fraudulent because of mail-in ballots, as they're now providing the groundwork to do. They're not going to just fall in line and allow themselves to lose an election. That's why Bolton should have testified. That's why people should be acting through the system to stop this before our only option left is the election. And when that fails, what do you do then? Joe Biden can't believe he has to say this, but we should be speeding up testing, not slowing it down. Pretty effective advertisement here from the Biden campaign, showing on the top Trump complaining that testing is causing the numbers to go up, while in reality, the numbers are just going up. A reminder that this man is a future president of the United States hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. Let's see how the president comported himself. No audio on this. She's hot. Grabbing her. Whoa. And partying with Epstein. There he is, future President Donald Trump, partying with Jeffrey Epstein, noted sex trafficker of underage women and more. Friend of Bill Clinton. Jeffrey Epstein. Got to stop those investigations. Can't allow those investigations to go on. I wonder why. I wonder why we have to stop these investigations. Nicholas Nassim Taleb is getting in trouble with Bitcoiners, but again, he might be right about this. As he explains, skin in the game scale transformations. Bitcoin is a good idea, but almost all Bitcoiners are total idiots and can't get nuances beyond fortune cookies. Oh, nails him. And then he quotes a tweet by Giacomo Zucco. So he's blocked me from seeing his tweets, and I think I blocked him too. So, yeah, all Bitcoiners are total idiots that can't get nuances beyond fortune cookies. I know who he's talking about. And he might be right. I don't know. Robert Reich says if Trump is willing to expose his own supporters to a deadly virus in order to hold a rally, imagine what he'll do to hold on to power in November. Just wait for it. Just wait. Do nothing. Sarah Silverman, comedian, writes, "To all the people shooting firecrackers and fireworks every night, I really, really hate you for what you're doing to my dog. Hate is a strong word, but I do. Sorry." And it is a little disturbing. It's still a couple weeks before the 4th of July. It's going to go on after it. I don't know why there's so many more fireworks this year. Maybe people just tired of being home want to set off fireworks. 2 players, 1 coach, and 1 fitness trainer contracted COVID-19 at Novak Djokovic's controversial event. But Djokovic went home without even taking a test because he did not feel any symptoms. So he's out there spreading the virus, not getting tested, not wearing a mask, still having tennis tournaments, and 2 players, 1 coach, and 1 fitness trainer contracted the disease. It's almost like we shouldn't go out and have any events until we kill the disease first. It's almost like that just keeps happening. Here's a clear signal that Trump fired U.S. Attorney Berman in bad faith. Jonathan Turley will Turley. Of course, Clayton's term expires in 2021, according to the SEC website, so he doesn't need a new job. And U.S. attorneys usually resign at the end of the administration, likely in 2021. Turley claims that Williams said multiple sources confirmed to him that the Berman decision was entirely unrelated to the Trump investigation. He said there was no evidence of a connection. Instead, he says it appears to have been done for the reason stated, to find a job for Clayton. A job that just perfectly undoes investigations that are getting close to your people. It's hilarious. I can't believe you, Jonathan Turley. You used to be a serious person. What a joke. And in other jokes, Vladimir Putin says that he's considering running for a 5th presidential term in 2024, arguing that the hunt for any successor risks paralyzing Russia's government. Again, this is a very strong argument, the kind that Trump could be trying out for himself in just a few months. Getting a successor damages the government. Handing off power peacefully as part of a democracy, not something that Putin's into, apparently. And also, I guess he's going to live forever. We'll see. Coronavirus update. 24 states show a rise in coronavirus case tally trends. The U.S. death toll is nearing 200,000 people, with 24 states showing a rise in coronavirus. The global tally rose just shy of 9 million on Monday. Virus is not over, not by a long shot. And who's reporting on it? Market Watch. Market Watch, usually focused on the stock market, is focusing on the coronavirus, because if you reopen the market without killing the virus comes back and kills you. Oh, it's so predictable. It's a Yakov Smirnoff joke. Classic. We're getting rumors that minority officers were barred from guarding ex-cop charged with George Floyd's murder. This is very unsettling. We don't have racial rules in our prisons of people guarding certain people, but apparently we do now. According to Rodimus Prime on Twitter, this racist logic also extends to every level of the justice system. They don't let black judges handle cases about race. They don't let black people on juries in many cases about race. Somehow, only white people are assumed to be unbiased. Very strange story. Still developing. Cryptocurrency company Bitmain famously fought against Bitcoin with the Bcash fork, has gone from a $40 to $50 billion valuation to a $4 billion valuation in little less than 2 years. They wanted to raise $18 billion for the failed Bitmain IPO. Again, you can go back and listen to the interviews where we predicted this. They put all their chips on the line. They bet against Bitcoin. They tried to win with Bitcoin Cash. If Bitcoin Cash had become the Bitcoin, they would have won beyond their wildest dreams. It was a huge bet, and they lost. They lost. They had billions of dollars, and we have nothing, and they lost. Jihan's going down. Craig Wright's going down. I wonder if Roger Ver will follow them. You side against Bitcoin, and your $40 to $50 billion valuation drops to 4. Dallas, Texas. Updates from a Dallas ICU. They are completely full with COVID patients. Their ER is trying to send them 3 more. They're running out of good PPE and having to use shitty backups. The other ICUs are also trying to take their morning staffing because they are also full. So Texas famously had almost no testing for coronavirus, then decided to reopen early so that people could get haircuts and go shopping. And now the ICU is full of patients in Dallas. This was predictable. It was avoidable. It's tragic, and it just keeps happening. Wear a fucking mask. What's wrong with you people? John Bolton reminds Stone Kettle of a guy who watched robbers break into your house, held the door open while they carried all your valuables out to their truck, and then declined to give a statement to investigators because he was writing a true crime novel. He sure hopes that somebody catches the criminals. Bill Kristol, conservative, writes, "You look at the polls and think he can't win, but Trump's path to victory doesn't depend on persuading Americans. It depends on voter suppression, mass disinformation, foreign interference, and unabashed use of executive branch power to shape events and perceptions this fall." So certainly they're not going to be following any rules. They're not going to be following any rule books. The idea that Bolton didn't testify because he trusts the election is not a good idea. Trump is already claiming, quote, "Because of mail-in ballots, which have existed in every election since the First and Second World War, maybe even before that, and he's used them in every single election, especially the last few years. He hasn't been in New York. He hasn't been now in Florida, where he allegedly lives. He claims, and again, this is how you set it up. This is groundwork. This is so later on, after you lose the election, you can say that it's rigged. He set the same groundwork last time. The last few speeches that he gave before the Hillary Clinton election, he said the system was rigged. He was getting ready to complain about it. He was going to launch Trump TV, and everyone was already planning for the post-loss reality. No one was planning to win, which is another reason why they failed so badly. They had a terrible transition. They didn't know what they were doing. They weren't prepared to become president because they didn't think it was possible. Trump now lying says 2020 will be the most rigged election in our nation's history unless this stupidity is ended. By stupidity, he means the mail-in ballot system that allows all of our troops to vote from overseas. It allows all of our elderly and disabled people to vote from home. It allows people with disabilities, such as unable to read. It gives them a Braille option. People who speak different languages can order the ballot in their own language. They can vote in the comfort of their home with all of the information and resources of the internet, etc., to look up information about the candidates and make an informed choice. That's stupidity. That's stupidity he wants to end. We voted during World War I and World War II with no problem, but now they are using COVID in order to cheat by using mail-ins. This is insane. This is unfounded. He has no evidence about this, and he'll provide no evidence. There's no mail fraud in America. It simply doesn't exist. Provide evidence. He has none. Check out the coronavirus in Texas and Arizona. This one's for all you young people. Young adults are driving the spike. In Arizona, COVID cases are growing 2 times faster with ages 20 to 44 than people over 65. In Florida, the median age of new COVID cases fell from 65 in March to 35 this week. This means more of those so-called invincible young people are going out there and getting the virus. Remember, the virus just doesn't make you sick for a few weeks and might drive you to a hospital. The virus also provides permanent long-term damage to your lungs and other organs, depending on the severity of your disease. So you're really rolling the dice when you go to the beach. It's much more than just a so-called flu. But who cares? Just go get it. Hashtag Team Virus. Spread that virus. Kill more people. White House staff got an email yesterday saying that temperature checks are now voluntary and would no longer be conducted at the entrances. This is terrifying. The president previously has been protected by a bubble of testing and information such as temperature checks that were keeping him and his office safe from the virus. They had a couple of close calls. A staffer in the vice president's office became sick. The president's valet, the man who gives him his meals and so on and so forth, his personal servant, I almost said slave, he became sick with the coronavirus. The virus is getting closer and closer to Trump, but as part of this public-facing campaign that the virus is over, apparently they're going to be removing these temperature checks, making the White House less safe, actually making America less safe. This is a national security issue, but they're just going to go right ahead and do it. So we'll see how that goes. Donald Trump says that his niece, Mary Trump, is not allowed to write a book about him because she signed an NDA. It seems like she's going to be breaking the NDA, and the book will be out in just a few months. It's going to be another amazing book. Definitely going to read that. Andrew Yang is continuing to campaign for the American people and the right of our data. Andrew Yang says, our data is ours, and if anyone is making money off it, it should be us. We can make this happen right now. Go to DDP for all, and let's get that data dividend that we deserve. Pay the people. Data dividend for all. Why can't we have Andrew Yang as president? This guy is fantastic. I supported him the whole time. Once again, the media, the public, they wouldn't turn on him. They wouldn't try the other people. They just kept thinking in the back of their mind, we need to go with the safe choice. We need to go with the safe choice. And we'll see if Mr. Safe Choice can bring it home in November, or if he's just too safe. The main thing we're keeping an eye on now politically is Joe Biden's vice presidential candidate. It's getting tighter and tighter with Klobuchar dropping out and Klobuchar sticking the knife into Warren on the way out the door. Again, a lot of people have put poor old Joe Biden here in a box. He can no longer choose his own vice president. It's very sad to see him give up this power. But previously in his announcement speech, he said that he would pick a woman. Now, because of the protests and his appearance on a black radio show, he was told by that guy that he now needs to pick a black person. So the box that he's able to choose from is very small. He can only choose a black woman now, and that there's only 2 or 3 in politics. So it's very small at this level, so on and so forth. There's lots of people involved in politics again, but he's a very limited choice now. He can't really make a broad choice. As I say here in my tweet, he's pretty much in a box where it's all Kamala Harris, she's a cop, or Stacey Abrams, she has no experience and she's a loser. So it's not a good choice. It's not very good options. But he can only choose from them. Personally, I would have liked to see Elizabeth Warren. She has all those plans. When Biden's president and he's looking for something to do, Elizabeth Warren could come into his office with a great ready-made plan that he could just sign and send on its way. That's a fantastic aspect to have as vice president. Or if we weren't in a box and we could just choose from everyone in politics, if he hadn't given up his ability to choose, why not Biden Yang? Andrew Yang would be the first Asian American vice president. He's a businessman. He's into .coms. He has a lot of great ideas. Universal basic incomes become even more popular given the coronavirus outbreak, so on and so forth. Yang understands racial issues. He's a minority. He's an Asian American man. Why not Biden Yang? And the real reason is the Yang, right? I mean, he's a man, so he can't even be considered. Oh, well. How about the very enticing Biden Romney reaching across the aisles, a Democrat/Republican ticket? All the people who say they don't want to vote for Trump, but they don't like Clinton, or they don't like Biden, or they don't like liberal people, they could vote for Romney. This would be a beautiful combination ticket. Again, there'd be a lot of upsides, a lot of downsides. We'd have to discuss it a lot more, but what a way to take the media space. What a way to break up Trump's coalition. Oh, but we can't even consider this because Biden's a man. Oh, see what happens when you give up your choices? We can't even think about anything interesting. We just have to give it to Kamala the cop or Stacey that has no experience, which again is terrifying for Biden's vice president. You need somebody that's ready to be president, not somebody that just lost as governor of Georgia. Here's a guy that could be president, pushing against big tech to pay users for data, Andrew Yang. And again, Biden could do this. I mean, it would piss everybody off, but it's supposed to be his choice. He's supposed to be able to pick who he wants as his vice president. Tactically, strategically, classically, back in the days before people just gave up things for ideological tests, you would want to pick a vice president that would bring you a state. You would want to bring a vice president that would bring you a region. Like if you had a vice president like Lyndon B. Johnson who could bring you the South, right? That would bring you a state that you wouldn't normally get. Like if Romney would bring him Utah, right? That'd be crazy. Utah going blue. But that's what could happen when you really think about all your options as vice president. I think from the beginning, he's already chose Abrams and this whole thing is just a dance. But still, you could have danced a lot broader. How about Biden and The Rock? Somebody in the chat yesterday said, how about Biden and Oprah, right? Oprah's a black woman. So that fits the boxes, but whoa, what an out of the realm pick. She's got all these ideas. She's so smart. She's interviewed all these people. She knows everybody. She's very popular. That one we could do. Biden, Oprah is still on the table. We need to talk about that more. And I'd also like to see Biden and The Rock. Thanks so much to everybody for watching this show, giving us a thumbs up and a share, having an active political debate, and so on and so forth in the comments and the chat. As this ad from Disneyland Paris says, welcome back. Les magies n'existent pas sans vous. Les magies n'existent pas sans vous. The magic doesn't exist without you. And that's the way I think about a lot of things. That's the way I think that computers, and especially good AI, should be trained to think about humans. How neat they are. All this stuff that they do that I don't know or I can't do. All this randomness that the humans add to the machine. It wouldn't exist without you. There's no magic without you. And reminds me a lot of that great trailer for that cat-based video game called Stray that's coming out soon on the PlayStation 5. It's a world completely run by robots, and humans are extinct. And it says, rest in peace, humans, on the wall, so on and so forth. And then there's one stray cat that's free in this world of robots. And I guess you get to play as the cat. But yes, even if there were all these robots, they would just spend all their time researching the humans and wondering what the humans would have done, what crazy thing they would have come up with. And that's why I think when you think about some movies like Terminator or Matrix, where the robots do get pretty close to killing all the humans or controlling all the humans, what are they going to do afterwards? What are they going to do with themselves without these interesting humans around? And I think the same thing. Hey, we made it through the news. We survived. It was a little longer than normal, but it's a Monday, and there was the interview with John Bolton. There was the rally, and then there was the people being beaten in the street in Columbus, Ohio. So a little bit of everything for you on the news today. We even talked about Bitcoin. So pretty cool. Thanks so much for joining us on this show. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. Subscribe down below. Hit the bell for notifications. Looks like the price of Bitcoin has continued to climb while we talk, which also generally happens when we do shows, although it happens even more back in the old times when we used to be able to travel. Do you remember travel? The Mad Tour always used to drive the price of Bitcoin up. Now we have to live the Mad Tour at home vicariously through our own old photos. But while we've been talking, the price of Bitcoin is up 2.27% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,583. That's $1 for 10,434 Satoshis. Getting more expensive all the time. With a high of 9,640, a low of 9,285, and volume continuing to rise on this Monday morning, now above 4,000, with 4,433 Bitcoins changing hands. Still leaning long, 80%, with Bitcoin dominance at 65.54%. Thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.